Hey everyone, welcome to the MOA channel, and today I'm feeding the fish. I'm going to share some of that with you. First of all, I'm feeding Vitalis, and this is what I use for the majority of the placos here, as well as some extra bits as well, but this is the basis of the main diet. And I'm just going to pop a very small little piece in for this one because there is only one in there, and he's also going to get a little bit of bloodworm as well. Actually, I might give him a little piece of cockle. Chances are that these archer fish are probably going to steal anything that's too small, so I want to make it small but not too small. There we go. Leave it for, yeah. They did well. It's landed right next to him, so I'm just going to zoom you in a little bit so you can see better. So you can almost see, but the bit of food is there, and you can just see the Adonis there. I'm just going to get these guys fed now. So I've actually ran out of my big tub of food, but I do like to feed them this at the moment. This is the insect food by JBL. Was actually given a job lot of the JBL food to try. I've got on really well with it, and I've used up all my tubs. So I'm down to these little packs left now, so hopefully I'll get some more and get some bigger tubs for them. So these are Burmese archer fish. They're freshwater. They're looking absolutely stunning, and they look really hungry today, so they're ready for the dinner. Or breakfast, should I say. So this is going to be a nice little treat for you to see, because they are really cool when they feed. So this food for them is really ideal. Obviously it's got all the right things inside it. It's naturally shaped like a larvae that should float on the surface, and it also contains 15% insects, and it's a prebiotic. So I use a massive range of fish food here. I'm not just stuck to one brand. I always like to try things, see how the fish get on with it, and go from there. To give you a little tip, this way that I'm feeding is actually to try and make sure that I don't overfeed or underfeed, which is always a little bit difficult to work around, and people do like to ask, you know, how do I know if I'm feeding the right amount? Am I feeding too much? Am I feeding too little? Unfortunately, the easiest way to go about it is to look at how your fish are feeding. Now, what you don't want to do is get a big old handful of the food, chuck it all in one go, because the last thing you want to do is wasting food, having to scoop it out with a net, something like that. It's so much easier just to keep giving them a little bit to ensure that all of them do eat, and they don't leave too much of it. Now they've just missed one there, it's just dropped down there, so I know they're slowing down on that food, they're not as quick to it. This one seems to be the least dominant. You'd think it'd be that small one, but I think it's this one. So make sure that he gets, I'm just gonna put it a little bit closer, move it around a little bit. Just wanna make sure he pops up to get some. Maybe move them around a little bit, here he comes. Nope, he's still shy. This is going to make me put a lot of food in before he gets any. There we go. Is he going to take that? Nope. Oh dear. Come on, mate. What I'm going to do in this situation... Oh, he's just got some. He's just got some, but I do want him to have a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I've got some pre-prepared Tetra Prima here, which is mixed with the Seacham garlic guard. And that makes it it's like slowly sinking, so it might just give him a little bit of an edge to get a little bit more food. So here we go, see. So if you look, that's now dropping straight down, but he's immediately being able to get food. So even though he's he's thinking about it, he's chewing it, even though he's a lesser dominant one, he's now definitely got some food in him, which is ideal. So realistically, you want to be watching, if you can, almost all your fish to make sure that they're all eating. I always like to make sure every single fish in the tank is eating. However, it's not always possible, especially if you've got a lot of fish. I mean, for example, if I just pan you across to here, let me shift this out of the way, the amount of fish in here, it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to say, oh yeah, every single one is there. So that's not going to be the case on this one. So in this tank, let's get the lid open. Oh, we forgot to give Mr. Adonis a little bit of cockle. Let's get him a piece. Oh, So he's clearly not going to get that whole thing. That will be way too big. So what I'm going to do is just pull a little bit of the muscly chunky bit off. Like I say, there is a chance that the other guys will eat this, but I'm going to give him that little piece there. It's fell into 3 pieces, so that's quite good. Oh no, that's ideal. It's gone straight down to him, landed right next to him. Perfect. I'll see if he takes to that. Again, as I say with the other bits, if it's not eaten, it needs to come out realistically. Give Plex a longer amount of time. Right, so these guys are going to get the Prima mix with the Seachem garlic guard. Sometimes it does clump it up a little bit, just pull it apart. Like I say, if you use it straight off and you don't soak it and wait, it will be a lot wetter. I've left this a little bit, about 10-15 minutes or so, so it is back to sort of its crunchy-ish state, not as crunchy as when you first get out of the pack, which I do prefer. So with these, I'm going to do the same routine again. I'm going to give them a little bit of time. With the Tetra Prima on something small like this, I do slightly crumble it between the fingers. Otherwise, I think most of those sizes will be too chunky for those. Sorry, angels, you are next. When I see that they're looking through and they're really desperate for it, but it's got to be done. So, again, give them a few seconds. Make sure that it's getting eaten out of the water column. You don't want fish food lying around all over the place. You do want full bellies all around. So, give them a little bit more. Again, crunch it up. Once you get into feeding your fish, you can kind of get a gist of how much they're eating. So obviously in the future, if you've got a tank where you haven't been adding fish to for a while and you've got the same fish in there, then yes, it's going to become a point where you do know exactly how much to put in. But obviously this is more focused at the beginner end of the scale, where if you're not sure what you're putting in at the moment. Now they have almost completely demolished that, so I'm going to give them one more little bit. And then I'm going to leave it at that. And what I do tend to do is, once I've fed the entire room or the entire shop sometimes, I'll then go back round one more time, and that's for 2 reasons. One, if there's a tank where I have overfed, I'm going to be scooping it out. And if there's a tank where I think, actually, they're still showing me the signs that they're hungry, and they're not looking like the signs that I would expect. Obviously, like this effect, this is like, yeah, they really do want food, but fish are going to show you that a lot of the time anyway. So what I more mean is, if they don't look like they've got full stomachs, they are at the tank waiting for more. Basically, if they look like they really want some more food, I'm going to give it to them within reason. You don't want to be overdoing it again. So that's more like when you've got used to it. I always say to people, you're going to do more harm putting too much food in than you are putting too little in just in the beginning while you're getting used to it. So next thing I'm going to show you is, I'm just going to zoom back in on this Adonis because he's now eating that piece of mussel. I don't want to disturb him, but I do want you to see it. So let's just do a couple of adjustments. So he scooped a piece of that mussel into his little house. There he is. Look, there's a piece there and a piece there, and he's also got the piece of algae pellet in there as well. So he's going to be a very happy boy. So the last one I'm going to show you for today is the angels. So let's get back over there and zoom back out a little bit. I thought I'd pick this rack because obviously I've got 4 different versions of feeding. I think we've also got a couple of clown loaps left in here, unless they were sold yesterday when I wasn't about, possibly, because I can't actually see them. So the sign's gone. So there isn't any clown loaps that we're feeding in there today. So these guys are going to get the bloodworm. Now, yet again, I sound like a broken record, but this has got the Seachem garlic guard in as well. I really do love it. We use a lot of Seachem products here, but garlic guard is definitely one that I use on a daily basis. Now, the reason why I'm feeding these bloodworm, I do mix it up a little bit. They do get dry foods as well, but I do like to feed the angels supplement with bloodworm usually at least every day alongside the dry food, especially if there was loaches in here, would be giving that a bit of a mixture as well. So yet again, you've got the same concept. Now, if you don't want your bloodworm to be sinking straight down to the bottom, definitely get yourself a worm feeder. I will pause and show you one of those. Do you know what? I'm going to use one just for the sake of getting this right for you. So this is a worm feeder. Now this has some massive benefits. It's almost like they know what it is, because when you put your worms in here, you're going to keep them at the top of the tank. So instead of them dropping down to the bottom, and a lot of the time things like cichlids do lose interest when it's at the bottom, it's going to keep them at the top. And in a way I feel like that also keeps them a little bit more entertained. So they've got a longer time trying to get at the food, give them a little bit more enrichment. So that's the feeder itself. You've got a sucker pad on the back, so you can put that along anywhere you want. Obviously you don't want your water level above there, otherwise it's just going to spill out anyway. So we're going to pop that there. There we go. So that's suckered on there, look. And then what we're going to do, get a little scoop of this. They're ready for it. We get a little scoop of bloodworm, pour that into the cone, and they know what to do straight away, and they can pick it out. Just keep on picking it like that. These cone feeders, ideal for tubifex, which is really good food for them, ideal for the bloodworm, so just pop it in and then you can watch them feed. Just going to zoom in. Obviously the same rules apply to this. You don't want to give them too much. It's a lot easier if you do give them too much, because you can just pop the cone out, but I do feel like they can spend a lot of time picking at it. Good enrichment for them. And then if you do want to add any more, you can add whenever you want. So you can just top up the feeder, and they'll get very used to that feeder. They'll get very used to where you're putting it in. So it does help, especially if you've got other fish in there that are bottom feeders. Say if you have got plex and things like that, if you add the cone feeder, it'll keep all your main swimmers up at the top near that, whilst you can feed at a different end of the tank, you know, like target feed some catfish, plex, frogs, things like that. Going to make it a lot easier. Again, normally I don't obviously use a cone in store, purely because I do like to make sure everything's fed, so I'm not usually going to be putting food in a cone and walking away. It's absolutely fine if you do that at home if you want to. Obviously for us, we're just checking on the health all the time. So I would be still making sure, you can't quite see on this angle at the moment, so I'm just going to change it a little bit. But there is a couple around here that are kind of looking around, maybe like almost like they don't realise that the cone feed is there. And what I'm going to do, just to be on the safe side, and I will obviously fish it out if they don't eat it later, but I'm going to give them a tiny little bit of the pellet, or granules should I say. I'm going to pop it down the opposite corner. And there you go, them ones that are hunting around that area are now getting something to eat. So I'm generally happy with that everything's going to get a nice amount of food. So as long as this is all cleared up and gone by the time I circle back round, that's all good for me. So I'm just going to zoom out, back out to these. There we go. So that's that one row done. Nice full bellies in that tank. It's not looking like there's any food left over in either of these two so far. So what I would then do, like I say, is I would go back round, finish everybody else's, and then come back round here, make sure everything's all right. So I'm just double checking, because sometimes his food could get slipped away, slipped under when he's not actually at it, but by the look of it, he's had a good bit of that. He looks nice and chunky, so that's great. It's always perfect to check on those sort of things. I've got a lot of other foods on my trolley, which I'm always feeding around the shop. So on the next video, I'm going to show you something different. I'm possibly going to show you feeding the discus, because that'll be a nice, interesting one. And then let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to see me feeding, or any particular versions of food that you want to see. Like and subscribe, of course, and let me know what you think. See you later.